Earth is a planet of wonders. But hidden among its beauties are places that defy all logic. Places where heat melts rock, cold freezes breath, and the very air becomes poison. These are the most inhospitable corners of our world. What makes a place extreme? Not just prohibitive temperatures, but also deadly venoms, crushing pressures, invisible radiation, and an isolation that tests the mind. Yet, even in these extreme environments, life adapts and endures. Acid-loving bacteria, fire-walking communities, animals adapted to radioactive zones. On this journey, we'll explore deserts where the sand sings, glaciers that hold hidden lakes millions of years old, and craters where the earth pours out rivers of lava. We'll discover how humankind, sometimes for survival, sometimes out of sheer madness, has learned to walk on the edge of hell. Ready to push beyond the limits of what's possible? The journey begins now. In the Danakil Depression of Ethiopia, the landscape reveals its most brutal face. Here, where temperatures soar above 122 degrees Fahrenheit, 50 degrees Celsius, the ground is a palette of sulfuric yellows, toxic greens, and fiery reds. Acid lakes boil under a merciless sun, while sulfur geysers erupt like the breaths of demons. It is the only place on Earth where the crust is ripping apart, revealing submarine volcanoes and hypersaline pools that would kill any human in minutes. Yet, the Afar nomads call this inferno home. They survive by bartering salt, guiding camel caravans across black lava fields. Their secrets? Covering themselves from head to toe to avoid burns, and drinking camel milk, their only source of water for days. But the true magic is invisible, extremophile bacteria that transform acid into energy. Studied by NASA, these microbes may hold the key to how life survives on hostile planets like Mars. Just 375 miles, 600 kilometers, to the north, the Erta Ale volcano guards a permanent lava lake, one of only 5 in the world. Its dark crust fractures in an intricate incandescent mosaic, while jets of magma rise into the night air. This hypnotic spectacle is under constant observation. A violent eruption could wipe out entire villages. But for the locals, Erta Ale is sacred. They believe the lava lake is the blood of an ancestral spirit. Death Valley holds the record for the hottest place on Earth, 134 degrees Fahrenheit, 56.7 degrees Celsius, in 1913. Its singing dunes emit a low, unsettling hum when the wind shifts the sand. A phenomenon caused by the friction between quartz and feldspar, which ancient natives attributed to furious spirits. In the summer months, even the scorpions flee, leaving the desert to lizards that scurry across the scorching sand. Each spring, however, wildflowers burst into a riot of color, taking advantage of the rare rains to bloom for just 48 hours. In the heart of Africa, the Nyiragongo volcano is home to a vast lake of bubbling lava within its 1.2-mile, 2 kilometers, caldera. Its internal fire melts rock at over 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit, 1,000 degrees Celsius, transforming it into an incandescent ocean. At night, the sky turns red as flames of magma tear through the darkness. But Nyiragongo is not just a spectacle of nature, it is a constant threat. In 2002, a sudden eruption destroyed 4,500 buildings in the city of Goma, forcing 400,000 people to flee. Volcanologists study it relentlessly, searching for signs that might anticipate the next eruption. But here, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, science must contend with civil wars and poverty. A volcano that never sleeps, in a country struggling to survive. On the island of Java, the Kawah Ijen volcano harbors a deadly secret, electric blue flames that dance in the night. Fueled by sulfuric gases burning at 1,100 degrees Fahrenheit, 600 degrees Celsius, they create a spectacle as mesmerizing as it is lethal. Each day, miners without masks climb unstable slopes to extract pure sulfur. They carry baskets weighing 200 pounds, 90 kilograms, inhaling toxic fumes that shorten their lives to just 50 years. A desperate job, paid $5 a day, in a hell known to few outside Indonesia. In Turkmenistan, the door to hell has been burning non-stop since 1971. It all started with a mistake. A drilling rig punctured a natural gas cavern, causing a collapse. To avoid toxic fumes, geologists set it on fire, believing it would burn out in a few weeks. More than 50 years later, the crater is still ablaze, attracting daring travelers. The Sonoran Desert, along the border between Mexico and the United States, is one of the planet's most fascinating ecosystems. With summer temperatures exceeding 113 degrees Fahrenheit, 45 degrees Celsius, it is a place where only the most resilient survive. Saguaro cacti, giants up to 50 feet, 15 meters tall, store water in their trunks to withstand the drought. Between April and May, the saguaros bloom with white flowers that open at night, attracting bats, insects, and pollinating birds. It is an ephemeral spectacle that lasts only a few weeks, but supports an entire ecosystem. The desert is also home to rodents like the kangaroo rat, which digs deep burrows to escape the heat. The Lut Desert, in Iran, is one of the places where surface temperatures reach extraordinary levels. According to satellite measurements, its surface has reached values around 158 degrees Fahrenheit, 70 degrees Celsius, and the dunes, which can reach 985 feet, 300 meters, in height, are sculpted by the wind into imposing natural forms known as kalut. In some areas, vast salt flats and hypersaline lakes reflect light in a play of mirrors, while small rodents dig deep burrows to escape the heat, and insects feed on microscopic algae that survive in pools of boiling water. In 2016, the Lut Desert was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its extraordinary geology. In the heart of Siberia, Oymyakon is one of the coldest inhabited places on the planet. In 1933, the thermometer reached -89.9 degrees Fahrenheit, -67.7 degrees Celsius, one of the lowest temperatures ever recorded in an inhabited center. The cold is so intense that breath freezes instantly, turning into crystals that tinkle like chimes. Yet, 500 people call this white inferno home, surviving on diets based on reindeer meat and horse fat. At these temperatures, the human body risks hypothermia in less than 10 minutes. The blood thickens, the heart struggles to pump, and the cold can cause pulmonary edema. Without special equipment, it's a death sentence. In East Antarctica, the Vostok Station holds the record for the coldest place on Earth, -130.6 degrees Fahrenheit, -89.2 degrees Celsius. Under 2.5 miles of ice, Lake Vostok is an ecosystem isolated for 15 million years. Extremophile bacteria survive here without light or oxygen, metabolizing minerals from the rock. Russian scientists study them to understand how life could exist on Europa, the icy moon of Jupiter. In other areas of Antarctica, the blood falls phenomenon turns the ice red due to the presence of iron oxides. A spectacular event that has given rise to legends of monsters buried in the ice. The Greenland Ice Sheet is a wide expanse where the ice is often 1.8 miles thick, hiding underground lakes and strong geothermal anomalies. Winds, which often reach 125 miles per hour, 200 kilometers per hour, unleash ice storms that blind in seconds. Researchers live in underground bunkers, measuring the melting of the ice that could raise sea levels by up to 23 feet, 7 meters. It is a place where every breath burns the lungs and the horizon seems like an infinite void of despair. In Snag, in the Canadian Yukon, the thermometer reached -81.4 degrees Fahrenheit, -63 degrees Celsius, in 1947. The cold is so intense that the trees crack with sudden booms. The sap inside freezes and explodes them. The frost is such that planes cannot fly, the fuel would solidify instantly, and even metals become brittle as crystal. Mount Erebus, an active volcano in the heart of Antarctica, is a place of incredible contrasts. Incandescent lava erupts from the summit, while lakes of magma smolder among millennial glaciers. Here, natural ice sculptures rise, sculpted by the wind and sun. Scientists study the toxic gases of the volcano, while penguins watch from afar, unaware of the danger. Yakutsk is a city built on permafrost, a layer of soil frozen for millennia. In winter, temperatures plummet to -40 degrees Celsius, transforming rivers into ice highways. Trucks travel directly on the Lena River, transporting goods along routes that only exist a few months of the year. Buildings stand on stilts to prevent internal heat from melting the permafrost, causing them to sink. Cars are left on for months, with engines wrapped in thermal blankets. The Perito Moreno Glacier is a moving giant. It advances 6.5 feet, 2 meters, a day, creating a 230-foot, 70-meter, front that collapses into turquoise lakes with loud booms. It is one of the few glaciers in the world that resists global warming, a miracle of balance in which nature defies time. At night, sudden flashes illuminate its blue fissures, revealing luminous scars in the cold silence of Patagonia. On the summit of Mount Washington, New Hampshire, the cold joins an invisible monster, winds that have exceeded 230 miles per hour, 372 kilometers per hour. The wind chill can drop to minus 103 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 75 degrees Celsius, while ice gusts turn every step into a battle against nature. The meteorologists of the research station take refuge in protective structures, where the equipment is firmly anchored to the ground to avoid being torn away. Here, in 1934, the most violent wind ever measured was recorded, a fury that surpasses even the power of tropical hurricanes. In northern Tanzania, Lake Natron is an extreme landscape with highly alkaline waters, with a pH that can reach 10.5. These waters, capable of calcifying and preserving animals that have fallen inside, create a mummification effect. Birds, especially pink flamingos, find in this hostile environment the key to their survival. Thanks to particular adaptations, their bodies resist corrosion and their specialized beaks filter the algae that thrives in this extreme ecosystem. At night, the lake transforms into a surreal painting, with extremophile bacteria coloring the waters an intense red. Pripyat, the famous ghost town of Chernobyl, has become the symbol of a disaster that has transformed the landscape into a monument to human arrogance. Since 1986, radiation has altered forests and buildings, creating an environment in which nature has reclaimed the territory. Wolves, moose, and lynx roam among ruined buildings, while radiation-affected vegetation assumes unusual forms. In some areas, the one that is called the Red Forest shows trees that, marked by the action of radiation, resemble carbonized skeletons. In the heart of the exclusion zone, scientists study particular fungi, defined as black fungi, which seem to use radiation as an energy source, opening up revolutionary perspectives for life in extreme environments, even in space. In Centralia, Pennsylvania, an underground fire has been burning incessantly for over 60 years, triggered in 1962 in a coal mine. Today, the soil emits toxic fumes, the streets have turned into smoking crevices, and the abandoned atmosphere recalls the imagery of a horror set. Despite the danger of death signs, some tourists venture clandestinely, attracted by the fame of this apocalyptic scenario. The asbestos quarries in some areas of Russia represent a serious environmental problem. In industrial areas, the air is contaminated with asbestos fibers, substances that are extremely dangerous to health, capable of penetrating the lungs and, with a long latency period, causing serious diseases such as mesothelioma. In cities like Asbest, the legacy of extractive activities is accompanied by health and environmental challenges, with some ex-miners still carrying on their backs the signs of an industrial past in which asbestos was underestimated. After the nuclear disaster of 2011, large areas of Fukushima were declared uninhabitable and transformed into real-time capsules. Abandoned schools, toys covered in dust, and clocks stopped at 2:46, the moment everything changed. Here nature creeps into a contaminated environment, where deer and wild boar feed on plants exposed to radiation. Meanwhile, authorities are experimenting with the construction of an underground ice wall, an innovative and controversial attempt to contain radioactive water and contain the spread of contamination. The Riachuelo, in Buenos Aires, is considered one of the most polluted rivers in South America. Its waters, contaminated with heavy metals, industrial solvents, and untreated sewage, represent an environmental and health crisis. Factories, often authorized to discharge industrial waste, contribute to pollution that makes the river a symbol of the environmental challenges of our time, a warning about the need for decisive interventions to protect the environment and public health. Devon Island, located in the Canadian Arctic, is a polar desert reminiscent of the landscape of Mars. Inside is the Houghton Impact Crater, about 14 miles, 23 kilometers, in diameter, which serves as a natural laboratory for simulations of space missions. With temperatures that can drop to -58 degrees Fahrenheit, -50 degrees Celsius, and extremely dry air, the environment is inhospitable. However, scientists and researchers operate there to test technologies and train astronauts in conditions analogous to those of Mars. Tristan da Cunha is the most remote inhabited island in the world. This British territory is located in the South Atlantic Ocean. With a population of about 267 souls, 15 surnames, and 1 doctor, the nearest landfall is about 1,500 miles, 2,400 kilometers. Here self-sufficiency is a necessity. Potatoes are grown between active volcanoes, fishing is done with bare hands, and marriages take place between families who share ancestors dating back to 1816. There are no airports or mobile telephone networks, only radio waves that take hours to connect the island to the rest of the world. In 1961, a volcanic eruption forced total evacuation, and 2 years later everyone returned. The Mariana Trench is located in the western Pacific Ocean, east of the Philippines, and is the deepest abyss on Earth, with a depth of about 36,000 feet, 11,000 meters, below sea level. In this extreme environment, the pressure reaches about 1,100 times atmospheric pressure, as if the weight of numerous jets were being exerted on a small surface. The few submersibles that have stopped there have encountered extraordinary creatures, ethereal jellyfish, transparent fish, and tubular worms that glow in the dark. Socotra, off the coast of Yemen, looks like an alien planet. 37% of its plants, such as the unmistakable dragon blood tree, are endemic, not found anywhere else in the world. Geological isolation has preserved the island from mass tourism and conflict, helping to keep local traditions and legends alive. In 2015, a cyclone caused extensive damage to homes, and islanders rebuilt them following traditional techniques, using natural materials such as mud and palm leaves, in a gesture reminiscent of centuries-old practices. Pitcairn is an isolated volcanic island in the South Pacific, halfway between New Zealand and Peru, known for having been colonized in 1790 by the mutineers of the Bounty and their Tahitian companions. Without an airport or port, the island can only be reached by sea, after days of navigation. In 2004, a significant portion of the adult population was involved in sexual abuse proceedings, a dark episode that deeply marked this small settlement. Alert is the northernmost military base in the world, located about 500 miles, 800 kilometers, from the North Pole, in Canada. During the winter, darkness reigns for 4 months and temperatures can drop as low as -40 degrees. The approximately 60 soldiers stationed here have to deal with extreme conditions, feeding on freeze-dried food and facing psychological support sessions to combat loneliness. In the heart of Mexico, the Naica mine open up like a cathedral from another world. Inside, selenite crystals, up to 40 feet, 12 meters, tall, stand in environments where the temperature reaches 122 degrees Fahrenheit, 50 degrees Celsius, and humidity is at 100%. Without protective suits, breathing here is lethal. In just 10 minutes the lungs can be seriously compromised. The Salar de Uyuni, in Bolivia, is the largest salt desert in the world. During the rainy season, this immense mirror, spanning about 4,000 square miles, 10,000 square kilometers, reflects the sky, creating an optical illusion that blurs horizons and even the perception of gravity. However, beneath this surreal beauty lies a complex reality. It is estimated that 50% of the world's lithium reserves are concentrated in this area, a wealth that has triggered strong tensions between communities and governments. Off the coast of Mexico, Socorro rises as the visible tip of an active submarine volcano. In this constantly fermenting environment, jets of boiling sulfur and hissing fumaroles tell the story of geothermal activity that stems from the meeting of tectonic plates. While turquoise waters caress the surface, beneath them lies a threat ready to reaffirm the primeval power of the Earth. In this extreme scenario, marine life still finds an unexpected habitat. Giant mantas, whale sharks, and dolphins swim freely, immersed in a sea that reflects a kaleidoscope of colors, as if wanting to challenge the dark destiny hidden in the bowels of the volcano. The Dead Sea, famous for its hypersalinity, is much more than a mineral pool. It is a territory in which the earth rebels. Along its shores, the ground unexpectedly yields, generating thousands of sinkholes. In this extreme scenario, where most life forms fail to thrive, tiny witnesses of biological resilience exist. Hyper-resistant microorganisms, such as halobacteria, have honed their ability to survive in a sea of salts and minerals, challenging conditions lethal to most organisms. The Dead Sea thus becomes a stage on which the destructive power of nature clashes with the incredible adaptability of organisms, a place where the earth, with all its rebellious force, reminds us that the struggle between creation and destruction is an eternal cycle. In the perpetual darkness of the depths, at 13,000 feet, 4,000 meters, hydrothermal vents defy all logic. Here, colonies of tube worms cling to life, populating environments devoid of light and oxygen, living at temperatures of about 176 degrees Fahrenheit, 80 degrees Celsius, where chemoautotrophic bacteria transform toxic substances into precious energy. These extraordinary ecosystems have inspired research on Enceladus, Saturn's moon. If life existed in that remote corner of the solar system, it could exploit similar processes, feeding on the hydrogen present on the seabed. Moving on the Earth's surface, the Atacama Desert, the driest place on the planet, is reminiscent of a fragment of Mars. In some areas, rain has not fallen for over 400 years. Yet, in this arid silence, microscopic organisms hide in quartz, feed on traces of chlorine and sulfur, and find refuge in tiny cavities to escape harmful UV rays. NASA studies these extraordinary inhabitants of the desert to develop new survival techniques, with an eye on a future on Mars. In the heart of the Ethiopian desert, in Dallol, acid pools with a pH of 0 and temperatures around 113 degrees Fahrenheit, 45 degrees Celsius, shape a toxic and surreal landscape. Yet extremophile bacteria thrive in this hell, protected by biofilms that protect them from acid. Their DNA, equipped with genes capable of repairing heat-damaged proteins, is studied by scientists for the creation of resistant industrial enzymes, fundamental for the production of pharmaceuticals and biofuels. Mono Lake, in California, is a lake with exceptionally alkaline waters, with pH values up to 10, enough to irritate the skin on contact. Here, the bacterium GFAJ1 has amazed the scientific community. According to some studies, it would be able to tolerate arsenic, a lethal element for other forms of life. Although this discovery has sparked intense debate, it has nevertheless revolutionized our way of thinking about biology, opening up new perspectives for the search for extraterrestrial organisms, even on worlds like Titan. This journey to the most extreme corners of the Earth has revealed two fundamental truths. On the one hand, life is resilience, capable of adapting to fiery infernos, dark abysses, and toxic deserts. On the other hand, it is fragility, because even these environments, so hostile to humans, are giving way under the weight of our mistakes. It is estimated that 10% of the planet is now uninhabitable for humans, and that 60% of extreme ecosystems, from hydrothermal vents to crystal caves, are threatened by climate change, pollution, and exploitation. The paradox is cruel. Those places that teach us how to face the future, we are destroying them in the present. But there is hope. Every bacterium that manages to thrive in environments full of arsenic, every tubular worm that resists in the depths, reminds us that life does not ask permission, it adapts, mutates, resists. It is up to us to learn from its extraordinary tenacity. If these places have made you feel small in the face of nature's majesty, subscribe to our channel and activate the bell so you don't miss the next adventures. The Earth does not need heroes, but witnesses. Be you the witnesses.